automobile, the truck, and the airplane. The pharmaceutical industry is being profoundly changed today by knowledge coming from genetics and microbiology, disciplines that few biologists had heard of 40 years ago. And it is by no means only science or technology that creates new knowledge and makes old knowledge obsolete. Social innovation is equally important and often more important than scientific innovation. Indeed, what triggered the present worldwide crisis in that proudest of 19th-century institutions, the commercial bank, was not the computer or any other technological change. It was the discovery by non-bankers that an old but hitherto rather obscure financial instrument, commercial paper, could be used to finance companies and would thus deprive the banks of the business on which they had held a monopoly for 200 years and which gave them most of their income. The commercial loan. The greatest change of all is probably that in the last 40 years purposeful innovation, both technical and social, has itself become an organized discipline that is both teachable and learn all. Nor is rapid knowledge-based change confined to business, as many still believe. No organization in the 50 years since World War II has changed more than the U.S. military. Uniforms have remained the same. Titles of rank have remained the same. But weapons have changed completely, as the Gulf War of 1991 dramatically demonstrated. Military doctrines and concepts have changed even more drastically, as have the armed services organizational structures, command structures, relationships, and responsibilities. Similarly, it is a safe prediction that in the next 50 years, schools and universities will change more and more drastically than they have since they assumed their present form more than 300 years ago when they reorganized themselves around the printed book. What will force these changes is, in part, new technology, such as computers, videos, and telecasts via satellite, in part the demands of a knowledge-hazed society in which organized learning must become a lifelong process for knowledge workers. And in part new theory about how human beings learn. For managers, the dynamics of knowledge impose one clear imperative: every organization has to build the management of change into its very structure. On the one hand, this means every organization has to prepare for the abandonment of everything it does. Managers have to learn to ask every few years of every process, every product, every procedure, every policy: if we did not do this already, would we go into it now knowing what we now know? If the answer is no, the organization has to ask, so what do we do now? And it has to do something, and not say, let's make another study. Indeed, organizations increasingly will have to plan abandonment rather than try to prolong the life of a successful product, policy, or practice, something that so far only a few large Japanese companies have faced up to. On the other hand, every organization must devote itself to creating the new. Specifically, every management has to draw on three systematic practices. The first is continuing improvement of everything the organization does, the process the Japanese call Kaizen. Every artist throughout history has practiced Kaizen, or organized, continuous self-improvement. But so far only the Japanese, perhaps because of their Zen tradition, have embodied it in the daily life and work of their business. Managers must learn to ask every few years, if we did not do this already, would we go into it now? Organizations. The aim of Kaizen is to improve a product or service so that it becomes a truly different product or service in 2 or 3 years' time. Second, every organization will have to learn to exploit its knowledge, that is, to develop the next generation of applications from its own successes. Again, Japanese businesses have done the best with this endeavor so far, as demonstrated by the success of the consumer electronics manufacturers in developing one new product after another from the same American invention, the tape recorder. But successful exploitation of their successes is also one of the strengths of the fast-growing American pastoral churches. Finally, every organization will have to learn to innovate, and innovation can now be organized and must be organized, as a systematic process. And then, of course, one comes back to abandonment, and the process starts all over. Unless this is done, the knowledge-based organization will very soon find itself obsolescent, losing performance capacity and with it the ability to attract and hold the skilled and knowledgeable people on whom its performance depends. Harvard Business Review, September-October 1992. 97.